Who is your man of the match?
Tyler Adams.
Yeah.
There was no better player on the field than Tyler Adams. No. He was a monster. I know Tyler Adams is probably like 5'8", but he plays like he's 6'4", like literally 240. He was everywhere, defensively, offensively, getting the play going, the attitude, the charisma, the leadership. The youngest captain in this World Cup, up for the moment. He was the best player on the field for me. Continues to shine for the U.S. men's national team. If I could clone him 10 times over, I would.
Those 8 recoveries, by the way, ranked first on the field. I mean, he is just so good when the other team has the ball. And it's not even just the recoveries, because sometimes, Herc, he won't even touch the ball. Yeah. It's just sliding into a lane or edging it, like getting up against the guy and making him turn back. Like, I know we talk about it. We talk about his maturity kind of because of the words that come out of his mouth. He's got a maturity to his game as well.
Yeah, even the calculated risk he takes, the moment of which he leaves his feet, are adequate. They're appropriate. They're of the moment. I thought he was the best player on the field. That should tell you something also. When a defensive midfielder is that involved and you get out of here with the 0, you've done something right defensively. Yeah. You're putting out a lot of fires.
So I'm going to go a little bit different man of the match. I think if we were going to if you really forced me to pick a guy and I had to defend it, I would have picked Tyler Adams as well.
Okay.
I think that's obvious. But just to give us a little something to talk about, again, I go to that right side, and Des surely deserves some of the credit from this, but I think what we're seeing from Tim Weah in this tournament is just so impressive. He did it against Wales. He was not just dangerous on the goal. He was dangerous throughout. And in this game, man, he really gave England problems. Like I felt, especially in that first half, almost all the danger from the U.S. came not just down that right side, but kind of off his foot.
I know we're only 2 games into this World Cup experience for the U.S. men's national team, but if I had a bet on one player making a big move,
really?
After this World Cup.
He's the guy?
It's Timothy Weah.
He's the one that we would say has shown the most.
His star is shining probably the brightest. I know he has the Weah name to him, and the rest of the world starting to realize, like, George Weah has a son?
Yeah.
Wow! And then they're seeing him play, seeing the charisma, seeing how just he oozes that swag, he oozes that confidence, how he's going at players. He's being a smarter player when he doesn't have the ball tactically. He's definitely growing into that position.
And, I mean, we talked about this after the Wales game, and maybe for some people there was some doubt. But, again, from here on out, at least in this tournament, and maybe as we kind of project long-term for this national team, he is a, not pencil-in, but like a Sharpie-in starter, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean...
Because I think, so let me just, before I cut you off. But to me, why I say that is because in the past, like, we've labeled him as a speed guy or verticality, or he fits in this system.
Right.
I feel like now he's playing so well, it doesn't matter who you're playing, what your game plan is, he's a starter. Is he there yet for you?
I mean, he's pretty turnkey at this moment against anybody you play.
Yeah.
It's just a reality. You know, he's up for that moment. You played against a team that today sat back, so those transition moments weren't there. But they sat back because a player like Timothy Weah was on the field, because they were wary of that moment. They were wary of that player. They respected that player too much. So this is definitely a guy, regardless of who you're playing, the opposition respects and has to deal with, so they're going to account for it.
To your point about Tyler Adams and just generally how well the defense played, I'm looking at this right now. Harry Kane touches in the United States box, 3. 3 for the whole game. That's a credit to the not just one guy, to the unit as well, right?
Wow.
All right, so your man of the match, Tyler Adams.
Yes, sir.
My man of the match, Tim Weah. But you've only played in 1 World Cup. Let's get the perspective of somebody who's been on 4 U.S. World Cup teams. There he is, 4.
How old is this guy?
Easy, steady, steady, steady. Kasey Keller, great to have you with us here on Futbol Americas. So break the tie here for us. Who's your man of the match from today's game against England?
I'm going to say Weston McKennie. And he would have been miles ahead if he'd finished the chance that he had. Look, I've been critical of Weston at times, that I wanted to see him to be able to not necessarily take over a game, because that's really not, his style, but to be more influential, and I saw that today. And particularly coming off a game where I felt in the second half he extremely faded, where I was having questions on his fitness, on Des' fitness, on Weah's fitness, on Pulisic's fitness, and we saw a second-half performance today where the fitness was there. The ability to continue to press, continue to get into advanced positions and overlap, which is what I really, really wanted to see in the second half of that Wales game that just didn't materialize. So whatever the recovery staff did, they need to do it one more time because we need to see a level of suffrage to finish this thing off and get the result against Iran.
I like what Kasey said about a level of suffrage. There's this adage, there's this saying that good teams, no matter how good, you have to be able to suffer at times, and especially in a tournament like this. I agree with Weston McKennie, and what makes the performance so special is we came off that Iran versus England game talking about Jude Bellingham, Saka, these two young players, and how well they have done. Jude Bellingham couldn't get on the ball in the final third because of Weston's duality, Weston's box-to-box. They were always so wary about Weston, and he was always so present. He made one of the future signings, I don't know how many hundreds of millions this kid's going to go for, really obsolete today. He was one of those reasons to why Jude Bellingham didn't have so much success.
Can I give you a statistic that backs that up? Jude Bellingham, 19 touches in the attacking third against Iran. Just 12 in this game. So that's a significant, that's a significant decrease for him. Kasey, I'm curious, just to follow up really quickly on the point about fitness. Obviously, this team didn't get fitter over the last 3 days. And if anything, you would assume that they would have been in worse shape coming off, basically starting the same starting lineup that we saw against Wales against England. So if it wasn't the fitness improving, then how did these guys look so much better in the second half of this game compared to what we saw against Wales? Well,
some of it you have to blame England. England started the match lethargic, and they finished the match lethargic. You didn't see the energy from England that you saw, particularly once they got the first goal, where they were pressing and where they were overlapping and where they were combining very quickly. It was a lot of 2, 3, 4 touches, not see an option, pass the ball backwards, 2, 3, 4 touches. And then the U.S. were very smart with the way they had their line of confrontation. And England got frustrated. They started the game slow, and they could never catch up to the pace. And a lot of that was because the U.S. kept the energy where it needed to be. Sometimes, guys, it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing knowing that I can fight through the fitness, that I can keep going. You saw how upset Dest was when he got substituted because he knew he still could do it. But I think there was still a little bit of a look over the shoulder, knowing we're going to need even more against Iran to not let 2 results go by the wayside, not slip up against a team that's obviously had a tremendous resurgence, after a hammering in the first game. And, we all talked about it. We all thought that the key game in this tournament is going to be the Iran game, that third game. And that's exactly what's come out of this. But England, it's human nature at times when you have such a great result. You maybe take your foot off the gas a little bit. Maybe there's some complacency. And we saw that from England today. And it'll be interesting to see how Gareth Southgate motivates this team going forward against Wales, who looked defeated today in that second half.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.